Who let her up here? The voice was sharp, angry, loud enough to slice through the soft clinks of wine glasses and murmured conversations in first class. Heads turned. Passengers shifted. And there she was, a small black girl, no older than 12, on her knees beside a man slumped in seat 2A. She clutched a teddy bear in one arm and gently held an oxygen mask over his face with the other. "She doesn't belong here," the flight attendant snapped, pushing forward in a tight navy blue uniform. Her name tag read Karen. "This is first class, not a charity clinic. Someone get her out." The girl didn't flinch, didn't speak. She just kept adjusting the mask, whispering something only the unconscious man could hear. Karen stepped closer and grabbed the girl's shoulder. "I said move. You're from the back of the plane. You don't belong here." The girl's voice came out, barely above a whisper. "He couldn't breathe." Karen scoffed. "You're not a doctor, sweetheart. You're a child, playing games with people's lives." And then, a rasp. The man in 2A stirred. He coughed. His eyelids fluttered. And then he whispered, hoarse and broken, "She saved me." The entire cabin froze. "Tell us where you're watching from. And have you ever seen someone punished just for doing the right thing?" Her name was Zora Williams, seat 33F, plastic armrest, torn seatback pocket, and a tray table that rattled during takeoff. She hadn't planned to be a hero today. Zora had simply seen the man collapse. She watched his chest stop moving. No one else moved, not even the crew. So she ran forward. Through the curtain, they said kids like her couldn't pass, not because she wanted to break rules, but because she remembered her grandma's voice. If someone stops breathing, you tilt their head, open the airway, then you stay calm. Grandma had taught her everything. In East Baltimore, in a 2-room apartment that smelled like lavender and menthol. It was Grandma who taught her CPR using old couch cushions. It was Grandma who said, "You were born for more than people expect of you." But today, Zora was being dragged by the arm. Karen gritted her teeth. "Flight security will deal with her when we land." "Wait," a woman in seat 1D said softly. "That man just started breathing again, right after she helped." "Exactly," another passenger said. "She was trying to help him." Karen raised her chin. "That's not the point. She's a minor in a restricted zone. This could have been dangerous. Or it could have saved a life," someone muttered. Zora said nothing. She lowered her eyes. The oxygen mask slipped from her fingers. The teddy bear hit the carpet. The man stirred again. He blinked, then turned his head slowly, searching. His eyes landed on Zora. A faint smile. "Tell her," he croaked. "Tell her I knew." Karen frowned. "What? What does that mean?" The man lost consciousness again. 15 minutes later, the flight touched down in London. Paramedics were already waiting. The man, Richard Harrington, as the crew whispered, was loaded onto a stretcher. He was a big deal, apparently. A millionaire, a philanthropist, a tech genius. Zora didn't know any of that. She only knew she was now being questioned by airline security, sitting in a cold gray room near Gate 21. No one had called her grandma yet. No one had even asked how she knew CPR. Instead, one officer leaned in and asked, "Why were you in first class without permission?" Zora clutched her teddy bear tighter. "He wasn't breathing." A knock on the door interrupted them. A woman in a tailored gray suit stepped in, calm, commanding. "Lucy Grant. I'm Mr. Harrington's legal counsel," she said, holding up her ID. "I'll be taking responsibility for Miss Zora Williams." The officers glanced at each other. "But she's not under arrest," Lucy said smoothly. "She's under recognition. And when Mr. Harrington wakes up, he'll want to see the girl who saved his life." She turned to Zora. "And I think you're going to need a very good lawyer and a much better flight home." Zora blinked. "I didn't do anything wrong." Lucy knelt down, eye level. For the first time, someone looked at her not with suspicion, but with respect. "No, you didn't. But some people are about to regret thinking you didn't matter." Zora pressed her forehead against the bus window, watching the gray London sky disappear behind rows of unfamiliar buildings. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not alone. Not in a foreign country with nothing but a backpack, a teddy bear, and a lawyer's business card. Lucy Grant had arranged her hotel, booked her a flight back to the U.S., and promised to call once Mr. Harrington woke up. But it had been 3 days. 3 long, silent days. Back home in East Baltimore, the streets felt smaller, more cracked than she remembered. The corner store with the blue awning was still there. So was old Mrs. Bernice, who sat on the porch like time never moved. Zora stepped inside the tiny row house she shared with Grandma Rose. The air smelled like lemon floor cleaner and fried okra. "Baby," Grandma Rose called from the kitchen. "I've been watching the news all day. You okay? You really saved a man's life?" Zora dropped her bag and collapsed into her grandma's arms. "I didn't think. I just moved," she whispered. Grandma kissed her forehead. "That's what heroes do." Zora didn't feel like one. She still heard Karen's voice in her head. "You don't belong here." That night, as Zora lay awake staring at the cracked ceiling, her grandma's phone rang. It was Lucy. "Zora," she said, her voice urgent. "Mr. Harrington's awake, and he asked for you by name." Zora sat up straight. "Me? But why?" There was a pause. "Because he says he knows you," Lucy said gently. "And Zora, he asked us to test something. DNA." Zora blinked. "What does that mean?" Another pause. Then Lucy answered. "He believes he's your father." The hospital smelled like bleach and flowers someone tried too hard to arrange. Zora sat stiffly in a waiting room chair, swinging her feet back and forth. Grandma Rose squeezed her hand, trying to be calm, but her eyes never stopped scanning the hallway. Lucy returned with a clipboard and a quiet smile. "It's official," she said, voice soft. "Zora, the DNA is a 99.8% match." The room was still. Zora blinked, unsure how to even react. "He's really my dad?" Lucy nodded. "Richard Harrington, billionaire entrepreneur, founder of Harrington Tech, and yes, your biological father." Zora didn't know whether to feel proud or sick. She barely knew the man. "He left my mom," Zora said suddenly. "Didn't he?" Lucy hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "He didn't know she was pregnant." Zora looked away. "She died when I was 3. He still never came." Grandma Rose held her close. "He may have missed 12 years, baby, but he asked for you now. Let's hear what he has to say." Richard looked fragile in his hospital bed. His usual polished charm had been traded for tired eyes and a tangle of wires. But when he saw Zora step in, something behind his expression softened. "You look like her," he whispered. "Like your mom." Zora didn't smile. She didn't run to him. She stood there, teddy bear in hand, chin up, heart guarded. "You didn't come for me," she said. Richard's face crumpled. "I didn't know. Until I saved your life," she added. He nodded, ashamed. "I can't change the past, Zora, but I'd give anything to know you now." She didn't answer. He reached beside the bed, picked up a box, and handed it to her. Inside was a photo of her mother, young, happy, holding baby Zora. "I kept this," he said, "all these years. I didn't know you were mine, but something in me held on." Zora stared at the picture, then at him. "You left her alone," she said. "I know." She folded the photo and slid it in her pocket, then said, almost too quietly, "Don't leave me too." The car ride to Richard's estate was quiet. Zora sat in the back seat beside Grandma Rose, clutching her teddy bear like it was the only thing keeping her tethered to earth. Outside, glass towers gave way to long driveways and gates taller than the streetlights in East Baltimore. When they pulled up to the mansion, Zora stared. It didn't look like a home. It looked like a hotel that forgot how to smile. Everything was white. Marble floors, silver trim, big windows that didn't open. The walls echoed when she stepped inside. No scent of lavender. No oil popping on a hot pan. No gospel playing from the kitchen radio. Just silence and shine. "This is your room," the housekeeper said politely, opening a door the size of Zora's entire apartment back home. It had a 4-poster bed, a chandelier, a bathroom with 2 sinks. Zora whispered, "Do I even need 2? Grandma Rose smiled faintly. "Well, baby, maybe one's for the bear." They both laughed, a little too hard, because neither of them wanted to say what they were really feeling. Dinner was served by people in uniforms. Richard tried to make small talk. "Zora, do you like robotics? I could set up a lab for you." "I like drawing," she replied, barely touching the grilled salmon. "Great. I'll have an art studio built." She looked up. "You can't build love, you know." Richard froze. So did Grandma. Zora continued, not cruel, just honest. "I don't want a mansion. I want someone who doesn't forget me again." Richard reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I'm still learning your name. You don't get to rewrite everything yet." Silence. Then she asked, "Did you ever think about me before the plane?" He paused, then nodded. "I didn't know I was thinking of you, but now I know I was missing something for 12 years. Zora stood. "I'll sleep in the guest room tonight." "But this is your room," she turned back. "It might be, but it doesn't smell like home yet." And with that, she walked out, teddy bear in hand, choosing silence over silver and memory over marble. Choosing silence over silver and memory over marble. It started with a box. Zora had been exploring the library, running her fingers along rows of untouched books when she noticed a drawer slightly ajar behind the desk. Something about it felt off. Too lived in for a room no one seemed to live in. She opened it slowly. Inside were yellowing folders, faded photographs, and an old manila envelope with handwriting she didn't recognize. Her fingers brushed over a single word written in blue ink. Charisse. Her mother's name. She pulled it out carefully. Inside, she found a copy of a legal document, a will. The first few pages named Richard Harrington as sole grantor. Boring legal stuff, but then, on the last page, she saw her mother's name again. Charisse Williams, primary beneficiary in event of minor dependent. Zora blinked. Her heartbeat quickened. But just below that line was a red stamp. Revoked. Dated exactly 11 years ago. She brought the paper to Grandma Rose later that night. "What does this mean?" she asked, holding back tears. Grandma's lips pressed into a line. "I knew she wrote to him once, back when she found out she was pregnant." Zora's voice cracked. "Did he reject her?" Grandma hesitated. "We never got a reply." Zora felt a cold rush in her chest. So he did know, at least once. The next morning, she confronted him. Richard was in the garden with his assistant, talking about media appearances. Zora walked right up and dropped the will in his lap. "Did you erase her?" He looked confused at first. Then his face paled. Zora, I didn't. That was handled by my legal team at the time. I didn't know she reached out again." "But you revoked her name," Zora said, voice shaking. "On the same day she gave birth to me." Richard's voice dropped. "I was engaged to someone else back then. There were people, pressures. I made mistakes." Zora folded her arms. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice." He reached for her hand. "Zora, I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm here now, and I want to make this right." She looked down at the paper. "That's the thing about erasing names," she whispered. "Sometimes you erase pieces of people you'll never get back." Then she walked away, and for the first time, Richard didn't follow. Zora started watching her. The woman in pearls. Her name was Claudia Vale, Richard's executive assistant for nearly 20 years. Always in cream-colored suits, always speaking in a calm, rehearsed tone that made Zora's skin crawl. "She's just doing her job," Grandma Rose said one morning as she buttered toast. Zora frowned. Then why does she always appear right when I ask something important? Rose looked up. Like what? Like when I asked about Mom's letters? Or that old will? Claudia always interrupts with some urgent call or media request. Zora's voice lowered. She's hiding something. That afternoon, while Claudia stepped out to take a call, Zora snuck into Richard's private study. She knew the alarm code. She'd watched him punch it in 3 times. Adults always underestimate kids. Inside, she found another drawer locked tight, but not the bottom one. In it, more old files. And tucked between 2 contracts, a photo. Her mom and Claudia, standing outside a courtroom. Same date as the revoked will. Zora's stomach dropped. Later that night, during dinner, Zora confronted her. You knew my mom, didn't you? Claudia blinked. Excuse me? Zora slid the photo across the table. Richard stopped mid-bite. Claudia's fingers twitched. That was years ago. I was handling some paperwork for Mr. Harrington. Your mother and I met briefly. But you stood next to her outside a courthouse, Zora said. And the will was revoked that same day. Richard turned to Claudia, his voice sharper now. You told me she never responded. Claudia straightened her pearls. I made a judgment call. You were about to get married. Charisse was a threat to the press narrative. I did what I thought was best for you. Zora's voice cut through like glass. No, you did what was best for you. Claudia's face didn't change. You're a child, Zora. You don't understand how powerful families protect themselves. Richard stood. Well, maybe it's time this family stops hiding behind power. Claudia's jaw tightened. Then, without another word, she stood and walked out. Later that night, Richard knocked gently on Zora's door. I'm sorry, he said. I trusted people to handle things I should have handled myself. Zora looked up. Do you believe me now? She asked. He nodded. I do, and from now on, we dig together. She gave a small smile. I think Mom would have liked that. It started with a headline. Billionaire's secret daughter stirs inheritance scandal. Then came another. From East Baltimore to the boardroom, gold-digging grandma and girl next in line. Zora froze at the breakfast table, the paper trembling in her hands. Grandma Rose clenched her jaw. This is filth. Richard grabbed his phone. I never approved any press release. Someone's leaking this. But Zora already knew. Claudia. She didn't need proof. Only someone with insider access could plant a narrative that ugly, that fast. And it worked. By noon, reporters were circling the estate. Paparazzi camped outside like vultures, snapping photos of a 12-year-old girl like she was a political scandal. Zora's stomach turned when she saw one picture on a blog. Her hugging her teddy bear, captioned, "Power play or poor play." School became impossible, even online. Comments rolled in under every article, every video. She's just another welfare grabber. Bet she made up the whole saving his life thing. Where's the mom? Oh wait, typical. Zora shut the laptop. The world didn't care she saved a life. They only cared about what she might take. That night, Richard offered to send her away. Boarding school in Switzerland, no press, full protection. Zora looked at him, eyes sharp. You want to hide me now too? No, he said. I want to keep you safe. She stood. Then help me speak. Don't bury me. The next day, Zora walked down the hallway in a hoodie and sneakers. No pearls, no pretense, just truth. She stepped into the family press room. Flanked by Richard on one side and Grandma Rose on the other, she faced the microphones. I didn't ask to be born rich. I didn't ask to be born poor either, she began. But I did save a life. I didn't do it for money or fame. I did it because someone was hurting, and that's what my mom taught me to do. She paused, looked directly at the cameras. And if you think a 12-year-old girl from Baltimore can't belong in this house, well, I think that says more about you than me. Silence. Then, quietly, One reporter clapped. Then another. The next morning, a new headline emerged. She speaks, and the world listens. Zora couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her mom, young, brave, alone. There were too many holes in the story, too many things left unsaid. So the next morning, she did what her mom used to say before every hard conversation. "Baby, start with the truth, even if it's messy." She snuck into Richard's archives, again. But this time, she wasn't looking for papers. She was looking for voices. In the back of the study, behind outdated tax folders and media reels, she found an old digital recorder. Dusty, untouched, battery barely hanging on. Zora hit play. At first, static. Then, "This is Charisse Williams, speaking on December 4th, 2013. I'm recording this in case I disappear." Zora's heart dropped. She sat, stunned, clutching the recorder like it held her mother's heartbeat. "I met with Claudia Vale today. She offered me $100,000 to walk away, to revoke everything. She said Richard's wedding couldn't have a scandal, that my child would only confuse his future." The voice cracked, but kept going. "I said no. I said my child had a name, a soul, a right. Claudia said I'd regret it, that she'd erase me if I didn't disappear quietly." Silence. Then, "If something happens to me, or my baby, this is why." Zora's throat burned. Her hands shook. She replayed it. Twice. 3 times. It wasn't just words. It was proof. She ran to Richard's office, slammed the recorder down. He listened in silence. By the end, he was pale. And then, furious. "I'm calling legal," he said. "Right now." But Zora stopped him. "No," she said. "Not yet. Let me say it first." He looked at her. "You sure?" She nodded. "It's time the world hears her voice." An hour later, Richard's publicist uploaded a 45-second clip to Harrington Foundation's official page. No headline, no captions, just, "Her name was Charisse." It went viral in under 2 hours. News anchors replayed the audio on national TV. Twitter exploded. Journalists started digging into Claudia's career, tracing a string of quiet disappearances involving other women and contracts. Within 24 hours, the board suspended Claudia pending full investigation. Her lawyer released a statement. Zora didn't read it. She stood by the window, watching the sky turn gold, clutching the recorder close to her chest. "I told you, Mama," she whispered. "They heard you." Zora wasn't expecting another fight. After the audio went public, Claudia Vale resigned from 3 boards and quietly vanished from the mansion. For the first time, Zora felt a little peace, like the storm had passed. She started walking the garden without looking over her shoulder. She and Grandma Rose even went to a bookstore, holding hands without a single camera in sight. But peace never lasts long in houses built on secrets. It came in a silver envelope, thick paper, embossed seal, legal letterhead. Zora opened it while eating cereal at the kitchen island. The headline read, "Notification of revised estate succession, filed February 17th, 2023. She squinted. "What?" She flipped the pages until her breath caught. All assets were to be transferred to the Harrington Education Trust. No mention of Charisse. No mention of Zora. At the bottom, a signature. Richards. "Dad?" she asked, storming into his study, the paper trembling in her hand. "Did you sign this?" He looked confused, took the envelope, read it once, then again. I don't remember this." Zora stared at him. "It's dated last year." He shook his head slowly. "That's around the time I had my first stroke. Claudia was handling all my documents then." Zora's eyes narrowed. "So, you think she forged this?" Richard exhaled. "Or pressured me when I wasn't thinking clearly." That afternoon, the lawyers gathered. It wasn't pretty. The estate's legal team, previously loyal to Claudia, was suddenly unsure about the paperwork. One page lacked a witness signature. Another was signed on a day Richard had been in the ICU. Zora sat quietly through it all, hands folded in her lap, listening, until one junior associate spoke. "There's one solution." Everyone looked up. "The original will, the one Charisse's name was on. If we can prove it was valid and that the revised version is fraudulent, Zora is the rightful heir." All eyes turned to her. Zora didn't blink. The next day, she stood on the Harrington Foundation stage. No press this time, just board members, staff, and family. She held a small box in her hands. "This isn't about money," she said. "It never was." She pulled out the old will, the one she found in Chapter 5, now notarized and verified. "This was signed before I was born, before any lies, before my mom's name was erased." She held it up. "And now, I'm putting it back where it belongs." She handed the will to the lead counsel. Silence, then applause. Not loud, not dramatic, but respectful. Richard walked over and put a hand on her shoulder. "You sure you're only 12?" he whispered. Zora smiled faintly. "Some days, I feel like 60. That night, Richard added one more name to the official directory of the Harrington Foundation's board. Zora Williams, Youth Ethics and Legacy Advisor. A 12-year-old from East Baltimore. A name the world would never erase again. It started with a small plaque. Bronze, no bigger than a notepad, hung beside the Harrington Foundation's marble lobby wall, beneath the portraits of past board members and donors. It simply read, Charisse Williams, Honor Through Action. Most people walked right past it, but Zora didn't care. To her, it was more than a plaque. It was a beginning. A month after the court confirmed her status as Richard's heir, Zora made her first board proposal. She stood in a room of men in suits and women with perfect posture, holding a single folder in her small hands. "I'm not here to make anyone feel guilty," she said calmly. "But I grew up watching my grandma choose between rent and medicine, between groceries and a working heater." Some board members exchanged glances. Zora kept going. "I want to start a program for kids like me, kids with sick parents or grandparents, kids who don't have a shot, not because they're not smart, but because nobody ever shows up for them." She took a deep breath. "I call it the Charisse Fund, and I want it to cover emergency care, housing support, and school supplies for children of single-parent households in under-resourced neighborhoods." Silence. Then, "What's the projected budget?" someone asked. Zora opened her folder. $1.5 million for the pilot year, and if it works, we scale nationally." Richard sat beside her, arms folded. "Make it $2 million, he said. "We start next quarter." By the end of the week, the board approved it unanimously. News outlets picked it up. From passenger to powerhouse, 12-year-old Zora Williams launches 2M aid program. The photo they used was of Zora at the press podium, wearing a navy cardigan, pink sneakers, and her mother's locket around her neck. Zora didn't smile for the camera. She smiled when the first email came in. "Dear Ms. Zora, my name is Lonnie. I'm 11. My mom has lupus. We don't have a car. Your program helped us get to the hospital. I hope I can meet you one day." Zora printed it out, framed it, placed it next to her mom's photo on her nightstand. One afternoon, she and Grandma Rose visited the East Baltimore clinic where Charisse once volunteered. It was run down, short-staffed, outdated. Zora walked through the halls slowly, then turned to Rose. "I want to fix this place." Rose looked surprised. "You sure? This neighborhood?" Zora nodded. "This is where I started. If I forget it now, what was the point of any of this?" A week later, Richard matched her foundation's budget. The renovation began in spring. New floors, fresh paint, updated equipment, and one more plaque. This time, carved into the wall behind the reception desk. It read, "Charisse Health Center, because dignity shouldn't be a luxury." Zora touched the letters gently, as if her mother's voice was still echoing inside them. The lights were hot. Too hot. Zora sat on the stage of America Speaks, a nationally syndicated interview show known for digging deep and playing messy. She wasn't nervous about cameras. She was nervous about the woman across from her, Vanessa Hill, polished, sharp, smiling like a knife. "Welcome, Zora," she said smoothly. 12 years old and already shaking the billionaire class. That's ambitious." Zora gave a polite nod. "I didn't shake anything." The world just finally looked up. The audience gave a soft, approving laugh. Vanessa leaned in. "But let's be honest. Some say this story feels too convenient. A dying billionaire, a poor girl with a heroic moment. Then suddenly, she's the heir. It reads like a fairy tale. Or a setup." Zora didn't flinch. "Fairy tales end when the girl gets the crown. Mine started when people told me I didn't deserve it." Vanessa blinked. "Well said," she muttered. The segment rolled on. Clips of Zora helping cut the ribbon at the Charisse Health Center played in the background. A small crowd in East Baltimore cheering, her grandma holding back tears. Vanessa turned serious. "There's one question we received from viewers again and again. Why do you think your mother never told Richard?" Zora's voice softened. "She did. He just didn't know how to listen. Or maybe someone made sure he didn't hear." That hit hard. Later, as they went off script, Vanessa asked, "Do you ever wonder how different your life would have been if your mom had taken Claudia's hush money?" Zora's eyes darkened for a second. Then she looked straight into the camera. "My life would have been quieter, but it wouldn't have been mine." Silence. Then applause. This time, real and loud. After the show, Zora stepped backstage, still gripping the armrest of the chair a little too tightly. Richard met her with a warm hug. "You handled that better than most senators." Zora exhaled. "Did I say too much?" He smiled. "You said just enough." As they walked out to the car, a little girl in the crowd waved and shouted, "Zora, I want to be like you." Zora smiled and waved back. "No," she whispered. "Be better." The evening sun spilled through the stained glass windows of the Charisse Health Center. Zora stood quietly in the main hall, watching volunteers hand out backpacks to kids, some barely younger than she was. She didn't say much. She didn't have to. The plaque bearing her mother's name now hung beneath a mural painted by a local artist. It showed a woman with tired eyes and gentle hands, arms outstretched, lifting up a child. Zora ran her fingers over the edge of the frame. "I thought I had to carry all of this alone," she whispered. Grandma Rose stepped beside her. "You never did, baby. You just thought being strong meant being silent." Zora looked around the room. The laughter, the music, the smell of fresh paint and second chances. "I think I get it now," she said. "This isn't about fixing the past. It's about giving someone else a softer future." Outside, a limousine pulled up to the curb. Not for her, for a donor. Zora ignored it. She walked home with her sneakers scraping the sidewalk, holding a notebook full of new ideas. A mobile clinic, a scholarship named after kids who never made it to 13. She didn't feel like a millionaire's daughter. She felt like Charisse's. Later that night, she opened her laptop. The screen blinked on. A draft email sat half-written. Subject, Legacy Redefined, by Zora Williams. She smiled, then typed, "People ask me how it feels to be chosen, but I wasn't chosen. I became, not by luck, not by blood, but by walking through a world that tried to erase me until I drew myself back in." She hit send. Not for the likes, but so someone out there would know. Her story didn't end on that plane. It began.